So here's a pretty interesting tweet from Tim Pool. Now I have to have this open in an incognito window because he actually has me blocked. But Tim Pool, as you guys know, he really floored the gas pedal. He was just spewing a bunch of BS basically in the final months of the election. Like the last 3 or 4 months of the election, he was making insane claims like Trump was going to win all 50 states. He was going to win in a landslide. He was citing pollsters that nobody had ever heard before as if it was real data. Did absolutely no real research or give any real data. He just faked everything and lied. And he cashed in heavily. He got a lot of views, got a lot of money. Now he seems to be doing a backpedal now that Trump is out. He seems to be doing a move where he floored the gas pedal, but now he's trying to kind of pull back into a more sane zone. So he capitalized as much as he really could on this. And so now he still wants to stay above water and not be looked at as a super loon. So he's kind of pulling back is what it looks like. But there were a lot of people who were either Trump supporters or were kind of on the fence, hated Biden, hated Trump, but were kind of in Trump's direction a little bit. It's this stuff like that. They were pissed off that he didn't pardon Ed Snowden or Julian Assange. So Tim Pool sent out a tweet that read, Trump didn't pardon Assange. He went out like a fucking coward. That's some pretty strong verbiage coming from Tim Pool when it comes to Donald Trump. If he were to send out a tweet with that second line a couple months ago back in, I don't know, October or August, he would have got a really crazy amount of backlash. He wouldn't have the courage or the balls to do that because he's a bitch and he just looks for the money, right? And so a bunch of people, his own fan base, got really pissed off. This one says, what? You can't be serious. And if you continue to go down, there's some people in here, of course, who are, liking the tweet and commenting because they agree with it, but they don't like Donald Trump. So, like for example, this one says a Tim Pool tweet I agree with. Wow. This one says, I'm sure there's more to this. Obviously trying to say, oh, there's some kind of context of some kind. But if you kind of keep going down here, it says, so you didn't fight for him like a pussy, and now you're upset he didn't do what you wanted. Welcome to reaping what you sow. So a lot of people, as you guys know, started to get really pissed off at anybody who was not fully flooring the gas pedal when it came to the bogus claims of election fraud. If they weren't out there spewing the same lies that was the sort of conservative mainstream in terms of lies about election fraud, you were a fraud, and you were a sellout, and you're a fake, and all that. We saw that. I covered that with Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, those kinds of people. And so what you see here is it says, that's easy to say when it's not you that's being blackmailed and pressured by Republicans over impeachment and possible prosecution of your entire family and empire. McConnell is a treacherous rhino. So there's going to be some separation between Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump because McConnell and Republicans basically told him, hey, if you pardoned Assange, we're going to be more likely to convict you in the Senate after being impeached, which he already was. He already was impeached. So this one says, don't think Trump ever was that into Assange. The early days of WikiLeaks was basically an anti-USA op, cheered on by Cuba, China, Russia, etc., and massively damaging U.S. security and armed forces. Assange, a hardcore socialist type. I never really saw this coming. So it's interesting because typically what will happen is Trump will kind of do a pardon in exchange for somebody who did a good for them. Assange is the reason why Trump was able to win the election. Without Julian Assange and those leaks, there's basically no chance that Trump would have been able to win without those WikiLeaks, in my opinion. I don't think so. This one says that's an easy thing to say when you're not threatened with prison time. I'm thinking something big might be happening. He'll still be able to. There may be a strategy, just crazy shit. People, I think the same. The delusionary stuff that goes on in these Trumpers' brains are just crazy. It's like, it's living in your own virtual reality, but it almost feels like it's not even one layer removed. It's like a virtual reality of a different virtual reality inside of another third virtual reality. It's very, very bizarre. Man has more balls than most of us will ever have, so still really, I don't know, sucking them off, I guess. Kind of rich for you, and he danced around election integrity and backflip when the tech overlords came crashing down. So slow your roll, man. Love what you do, but an Assange pardon was a fantasy. Why was it a fantasy? I don't understand. Why was it a fantasy? Especially when it could be a really good blow to your enemies, right? The big thing Trump likes to do is vengeance against his enemies. That would have been the best way, because it would have pissed off the establishment of both parties. Would have been angry. That's the people you want to go after, right? Who else would you want to go after? IDK Tim, I feel like Trump walked as far as his legs would take him. Expecting years of a good guy in the office to solve all the problems we have right now is a little unrealistic. Plus, we don't know everything he knows when it comes to Assange. So again, this kind of just continued sort of tit sucking of Donald Trump, where it's like, no, he knows something. He knows something. There's something that we just don't know. And, he just did everything he could. Just unrealistic. It's absolutely hilarious. It's really interesting. And what have you done that's so brave, Tim? You choose the easy way, and that's to criticize. So people saying, oh, who are you to call someone else a coward, okay? Who are you to call someone else a coward? Or he may have simply disagreed with you on what the right thing to do was. Be careful. Don't fall into the trap to criticize character when a difference of opinion may be all that's at play. So protect Donald Trump's character, essentially. Pretty easy to sit before a mic in a warm studio and call the veteran of 5 years of total assault a coward, Tim. Says Jason Bedell 4. So there, there's just a bunch of there's a mix in here. There's a mix in here of tweets of people who already didn't like Trump and are basically reaffirming, like, yeah, he is a coward and he didn't pardon Assange. But then there's people who are his supporters, Trump supporters, who are defending him for not pardoning Assange. But if you go through Tim Pool's tweets, most of his tweets essentially, this one's going after a potential First Amendment violation, according to him, which from a cursory glance, maybe. Aside from that, a lot of stuff, he's trying to do some interesting tweets. Like, he's trying to backpedal, essentially, from that floored gas pedal that he's been in. He sent out a tweet that says, I don't like Joe Biden. I don't like what he's done over the past 5 decades. I can respect much of his speech and trying to tone things down. So, who knows what kind of gold mines are in this response. This one says mere words. I don't trust him one bit. Talk is cheap. Well, let's see if he's practicing what he's preaching first, but is he really trying? Just a bunch of people, Tim, this speech is garbage. People are just completely just going after him. But what you can clearly see from Tim is he's trying to back away. He's trying to go into the libertarian zone. Justin Amash is a libertarian. It says end civil asset forfeiture and the drug war and victimless crimes and qualified immunity and the Patriot Act and FISA 702 and foreign wars and corporate welfare. He says we can all agree with this, right? Can we start here and then get some shit done? So he's trying to go into that libertarian lane. Here's another interesting one. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the loony, straight from the loony bin, right? Over in Georgia. She says, hashtag impeach Biden. And she's supposedly going to be introducing articles to impeach Joe Biden. And Tim Pool says, yeah, but I just don't see this actually solving anything. It might feel good, but why? Why do it? Well, that's exactly the answer, because it feels good for them. Trumpers want to do it because it feels good out of spite. And if you look at the responses, it says for fun, there's just a bunch of stuff. I don't care about solving anything. I'm petty. There's just a bunch of that stuff going on. So he kind of answered his question right there. The reason why you do it is because it feels good to, strike back. It's a revenge move. It's that kind of stuff. But it's really interesting to see the shift that Grifter Tim is taking right now. He's trying to backpedal. And so he's going to try to sort of insert himself back into being a respectable journalist. Or he's not even a journalist. He's a commentator. He's a fake journalist. But I do want people to remember, it's very important to remember, Tim Pool has zero integrity. He's a complete sellout, one of the worst grifters I've ever seen. The kind of irresponsibility that he took part in the last months, the waning months of the election, was absolutely insane. I'm not exaggerating when I say he put out videos claiming that Trump was going to win in a landslide, claiming Trump was going to win all 50 states. Meanwhile, all of the poll numbers had Biden winning. It was completely delusional, and he was doing it because of all the money, the views. He was getting insane amount of views, unheard of amount of views. His comments were essentially the Arkham Asylum The only thing crazier than what Tim Pool was saying was the shit that you would read in his comment sections. So just don't forget, okay? Do not forget, Tim Pool is the worst of the worst, okay? I don't even think he has a political ideology. I think he's just in it for the money and for the fame. Because he's making a lot of money, easily passing $1 million a year, and probably way more than that. He's more of a business stock type of guy. Let me make cash than actually having a political ideology. So please do not forget, despite his attempts at backpedaling here from the insane stuff that he was saying and completely irresponsible and journalistic malpractice actions he was making, he is not some sort of respectable journalist or commentator, whatever you want to call him. The dude is a complete fraud and just a complete grifter, biggest grifter of all time.